Okay, great. Well, welcome everyone. Today, to those of you watching, we are delighted to be hosting some super College of Business faculty. And I think we'll just ask them to introduce themselves based on their position on my Zoom, which is always a mystery to everyone else. But Mona, let's start with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mona Zanhour. I'm an assistant professor of human resource management. So I teach human resource management kind of courses, how to manage people in organizations. And I research work and family issues in the workplace. So my main research area is how can parents and employees in general navigate their work responsibilities and their personal responsibilities.
Well, I mean, we obviously knew what was coming with this corona pandemic because we couldn't have found someone more absolutely spot on in what we're all facing. So I'm dying to hear what you think of it in our conversation. Thanks, Mona.
I'm looking forward to share.
Yeah. Lu Zhu, introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lu. I'm assistant professor in Department of Finance. I'm teaching investment and a derivative class. My research area is credit derivative and risk management. I guess right now it's interesting. My research area is also risk management of financial crisis. So
Yes, absolutely. Gosh, but I think we're going to find a common theme among all of us, quite frankly, but clearly yours is absolutely on the spot as well. Welcome, Lou. Greg Gaynor.
Yes, well, I appreciate the time and the opportunity to be here this morning. My name is Greg Gaynor. I'm assistant professor on the accounting faculty here in the College of Business. And my background is more the capital markets, work background, industry experience. And so I've carried that over. Some of my research interests include the capital markets, as well as some of the rules and regulations within the accounting profession, especially as they relate to the CPA exam and licensure process. I'm currently teaching at times both cost accounting as well as financial accounting. So thanks again for letting me be here.
Oh, no, thanks for taking the time. Gosh, busy time. Getting students ready for the CPA exam is no light task. So welcome, Greg.
Yeah, especially during a pandemic, right? As far as the scheduling and what they can do face to face. So interesting times.
Indeed. Well, welcome, Greg. And Hugh Nguyen, welcome, Associate Professor of Marketing, I believe. Welcome.
Good morning. So you just did my introduction for me. I don't need to say anything else, right? My name is Hugh Nguyen, Associate Professor in the Marketing Department. And to my disbelief, I've been here for 14 years on this campus. I teach marketing management and principle of marketing, both at the undergraduate and graduate level. And my research focuses on emotional attachment, brand emotional attachment, anti-consumption, and very recently wildlife research, wildlife consumption.
Fascinating, yes. And isn't it remarkable how quickly time passes? 14 years in a blink of an eyelid. And in my case, actually, it's exactly double that, 28 years in the blink of an eyelid. And here we are. So, and on my screen, the very last rectangle, Banafsheh Behzad, and welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So my name is Banafsheh Behzad. I'm an associate professor in the Information Systems Department. I teach business statistics for undergrads, and then I also teach quantitative methods for grad programs. My research, basically like twofold at this point. I do research on public health issues using mathematical models. Recently, I submitted a paper on COVID-19 vaccine pricing using game theoretic and optimization techniques. And I also do research on fake news in social media. So both of them kind of related to this timing.
Fascinating. As I said, there's a common theme. We're all kind of either moving in the direction of facing the pandemic, or in fact, as many of you have said, your research is already in that area. I'm curious to hear, before we talk about research, which of course is fascinating, is how has the incredibly quick transition to alternative modes of instruction, as we like to call it, or AMI, how was that for you, looking back sort of a year later? And again, to Hugh's point, you know, who can believe it's a year already? But how was it? I mean, for me, it was absolutely terrifying, and I don't know how it was for you. Anyone who wants to start.
I can
go. Oops, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
To me, the way that university has handled it, to me, is exceptional. I'm really pleased that we're so proactive in our decision to suspend classes. And looking back, it's been exactly a year. And I told my student in the last day of class, I told my students, I said, it'll be temporary. I'll see you in about 2 to 3 weeks. And here we are after a year. And I felt that, the very first day of class online, I was a little unsure as to, oh gosh, how I'm going to teach my class. Because I enjoy being in the classroom, but I think practice makes perfect, right? I think now I'm very comfortable teaching on Zoom, and then the series of workshops that we had last summer was really helpful as well. So to me, things are going great. Of course, I miss being in the classroom, but I think Zoom is also a very, very effective mode for teaching and learning as well.
Interesting. Okay, well, that sounds very proactive yourself. Mona, you were also jumping in there. So
yes, I want to reiterate something that you said, in that I remember at the time being pleasantly surprised with the infrastructure that we had in the university to be able to transfer fully online. And I remember sharing with the students, and at that time, of course, the students' experience was overwhelming for them because they had to navigate and learn how to learn online. And I remember sharing that it was great that we had all those tools. Learning the tools was definitely challenging, but it was great to know that we had the tools to be able to fully transfer online and in a very short period of time. The challenging part, of course, was for us to be able to learn those tools. So I hadn't taught online before that. So there was a lot of learning new tools and learning how to redesign a class in a very short period of time to effective teaching and create effective learning opportunities for the students online. So that was definitely the challenge. The other challenge, and I think that talks to my own research and the experiences of a lot of working parents at the time, is that I have 2 little kids, first grade and 4th grade
oh my goodness.
And we all had to transfer online. Like, they had to start learning online, and I had to, and my husband was working at home as well. So it was a lot of learning how to navigate all of our lives online, how to set them up, to set my own classes. I can't believe it's been a year. At the same time, it feels like it's been a very long time ago, and it went by so quickly. But it was definitely a challenging time just because everything was happening at the same time.
Right, there's no doubt. I mean, you mentioned 2 things that really hit me very hard. The one is the difference between teaching and learning. So, clearly we all had to adapt our teaching suddenly, but of course students had to adapt their learning just as quickly. And perhaps you could imagine optimal circumstances where, you don't have 2 kids and a husband, and who knows, some people have parents and others to look after. Those are not optimal conditions for teaching or learning. And so, it's a very interesting, deep, actually, way of thinking about what we're doing here. But Akshay, I love, of course, the fact that you teach business statistics. I think everyone knows I'm a statistician, so whenever I hear the word statistics, it makes me smile, which is not a common reaction, I'll admit. But often people will say that's a very difficult class, even in the best of circumstances. So have you found sort of any particular difficulties or?
Yeah, yeah, very much so. Like especially in the College of Business, this course is a very hard course for the students. They usually leave it like till the very last semester that they want to graduate. This is for the undergrad students and also grad program. It's not all like the whole course is not statistics. There are also like other techniques and methods like under optimization or decision theory, but the main part of the course is statistics. I was actually like very lucky because I happened like to teach a course in our online MBA program in fall 2019, which was purely online. So like till like starting a year before that, I started recording my videos in the ATS using the learning glass technology, which is a very cool thing. I don't know like if other my colleagues, they have like any experience with it, but you can just go and like you have this board and you can write on the board and the students can see your face and they can also see what you're writing on the board. So I happen like to have like for all of my topics like videos and I used all of those videos in teaching online for both my undergrad and grad students. And they actually find it very interactive. I get like many comments from my students that what is this tool like? It really feels for us that we are in the actual class. So I like my suggestion is like to use, and we're going to be done with this pandemic, but I think like later on we will happen to teach more like online courses and like hybrid courses with college. So it would be great to use the resources that we have on campus. The staff in the ATS, they were very helpful. They help you like when you want to go record your videos, like scheduling and like editing the videos. So it's great like to use the resources.
I agree. And you know what's interesting about this is that you brought up an interesting point. That I mean, obviously, we had to face the acute crisis of COVID. And I think you all have done an outstanding job. You know, the faculty of this university pivoted in an incredibly short amount of time and really quite significant and impressive. On the other hand, you know, there's the issue of, will we change anything post-pandemic? Will we come back to exactly what we did before? Will we have learned some new things? Will we have learned that we need to change some of our face-to-face teaching to accommodate whatever we've learned? And I think that's going to be an important conversation. And I hope that you, the faculty, will lead some of those conversations, because I think, you know, you're going to determine the face of education going forward. And, you know, that the kinds of insightful comments you've made and the learning you've made, I guess the impact on quality of education that you've ascertained will make a very big difference. And so I look forward to your leadership on that. Let's sort of move to more of sort of the impact on you personally. And Mona brought it up, you know, which something we've been reading all across the media, the impact of, you know, family life suddenly being intermingled with professional life, and how difficult that is, especially for women and carers in general. But how do you think you're all relatively new faculty, with either going through the RTP process, the reappointment, tenure and promotion process, or recently successful in it? how do you think we can be flexible in helping you? Because our goal at Long Beach, as you know, is not to exclude people, but to support people to tenure and promotion. How could we help going forward make you more successful? And I know that's a big question. So Greg, Lou, anyone want to sort of chime in, and I'm sure we'll get to some interesting comments.
Hey, Lou.
Oh, yeah.
Lou?
So actually, well, up to 10 years this fall. So right now it's very critical time. I think last year, so when we transferred to online teaching, so it's actually a tough time. So I felt like, it's new things. But the good thing is, so right before pandemic, our department already have some discussion on hybrid class. So our faculty already have some kind of different level of preparation. So I appreciate our university and COB. We do have lots of useful training section and help me go through this process. And also last semester, so I do actually spend a lot of time on my research. So I working on a research paper, which is investigate the gender diversity and firm credit risk. And thankful for the CSUOB actually provide me 6 units, reduce unit teaching reduce because of the COVID. I have a 1-year-old little baby girl at home, and my husband and me, and we need to take care of the baby. And same time, I need to work hard on my research. And I was able to wrap up my first round of manuscripts, and I already sent to the conference for circulation.
Oh, congratulations! Good luck. Yeah, very nice. It's look, it's something that we can do, and as you know, I sent out a general letter saying that we need to increase flexibility. And that's precisely what I meant by flexibility. If there's a possibility of, whether it's a reduction in load or a change in the work that you're doing, we just have to take into account the fact that we are people, not widgets, and we need to focus on our shared humanity. Because I think when it comes down to it, really, education is all about relationships, and relationships among our colleagues, among the university, and of course with our students. So, well, thanks for that, Lou. I'm pleased to hear it, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And Greg.
I might add as well, echoing Lou's sentiments as well. I've actually gone through the tenure process back east successfully. I actually gave up a tenure position to come out here, and very glad that I did. So I'm actually up for tenure myself this year, and I appreciate the transparency and the authenticity I've encountered from colleagues and with the information and the transmission during difficult times. I think, like all of us, somewhat our research agendas, whether that be through canceled conferences where we were going to present or things like that. That's what happens. We're in those situations. But once again, I very much thank my colleagues. I thank the administration for being transparent about it and with the process and doing what they can to restore some level of normalcy to times that are anything but. So.
Great. Yeah. And I think, we obviously, we always work within constraints, obviously, and the CSU is not known for its incredible flexibility in the face of changes. But I think when we are facing what could be a crisis, we will adapt as far as we can. And so, I want to reassure you and anyone who's watching that, we know how tough this year has been, and, we're going to take that into account. Banafsheh, I know that you have another appointment at 9:45, so I want to give you a chance to say anything you might have thought, or we can talk about something else.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I happen to have like this talk today, which was scheduled for today, like from a while ago, so I couldn't really cancel it. So thank you for understanding. Yeah, I think like it like in terms of like the question that you mentioned, it's great that like, and I think many campuses they're doing that they're like giving like extending the tenure clock. And I was also like lucky to get tenured last year, but I really understand like my colleagues who are like going through this year because like everything is different. And I know that like this decision of like getting assigned time because of like being like a caregiver, like having kids or like family is like more of like decision coming from the state, but hopefully it will work at least like to some extent, because still we're not sure what will happen like to the schools like being full-time for next year or not. And again, I have like a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old too, and like this year really was like the most like the hardest thing for me was like dealing with kids at home and still like teaching courses and then going to meetings. And my husband is also in the same profession, so sometimes we happen like to have like meetings at the same time, and then the two kids like going to one room and then the other room. So it was really tough, like being able to do all of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and I think, you know, let me just make a kind of, I don't know if it's a pseudo-philosophical point, but America is pretty focused on individuals and perhaps not enough on community. And perhaps this crisis will induce some kind of systemic change in how the society manages childcare and so on. I certainly hope so, because aren't we the only wealthy country that doesn't really provide paid paternity or maternity leave and then childcare? But anyway, I don't want to go into politics, just a comment that occurs to me when we're asking people to do their jobs, but not really providing a mechanism.
Yeah.
So,
Can I comment on that, Brian? Since
yeah, of course, Mona.
so in spring of 2020, I started along with my co-researcher, Dr. Dana Sumter from she's now at Pepperdine. We started examining the experiences of working mothers during COVID, especially working mothers who had to work from home and to navigate those work and family responsibilities. And definitely what we saw talks to the comment that you just made is that there is a systemic problem, but we are expecting individual families and especially individual mothers to take on the solutions for those problems that are not personal. And that is they have to navigate, especially during the pandemic, that was definitely exposed, but that is the reality of working families and working mothers even before the pandemic, that they have to find solutions for childcare, for example, for support after school. They have to find all of those solutions on their own. And specifically during the pandemic, that put a lot of pressures on working moms who had to show up to work. And I know Banafshe just shared her personal experience. So there's a lot of, of our personal experience into that. And that was the motivation behind getting involved in this study. But yeah, working mothers had to navigate being present for their work and being present for their kids at the same time. And to a certain extent, these two roles are sometimes not compatible because of the way we expect the workplace to be. Moving out of the pandemic, it will be definitely such a loss if we go back to the old normal without really recognizing that there was something that was exposed here, and we have to find more policy-oriented solutions to support our families moving forward.
Right. Well, you'll get no argument from me on that, but it's a relevant point, and not only to this. It's it's interesting. Like all crises, I suppose the COVID pandemic has brought to particular attention you know, some, let's call them pain points in the social model, like childcare, like racism, like, you know, policing, like inequities in income distribution. You know, there's always a long list of things humans are. We're very far from perfect, but there is some hope for for change, I think, induced by this. So that's great. Hugh, I think you are the longest serving professor, even though it's gone very quickly on the call. And so, I mean, can you do a historical perspective? I mean, sort of take your mind away from the COVID pandemic, if you can, and say, how has the university changed in 14 years? So how different was it in 20, I can't do the math, but you can, 2007 when you came?
I think the constant that hasn't changed at the university for us is the diversity of our students, our faculty, and our staff. And it was one of the things that pleased me the most when I was doing campus visits. I still remember that morning when I was walking around campus before my interviews, and I was really pleasantly surprised to see how diverse the student body was. And I think that's definitely one of the strengths of this university, is the ethnic diversity of students, staff, and faculty, and I felt quite at home. And of course, you know, in terms of the faculty and the faces, I can't speak for the university, but in the College of Business, I feel like the quality of the faculty that we have attracted has definitely increased. There are people that, you know, came from amazing background. They're fantastic researchers and teachers, and I'm very pleased that we're able to attract and retain them through the support that we have. So, for example, when I was hired, the marketing department had a policy where, for the first 3 years, you only have to teach 9 units, and you're guaranteed for that. And so, you know, if you teach one large class and one small class, and, you know, that's 9 units right there. And so it really gave you the time to focus on research to make sure that, you know, your tenure attempt would be successful. I think the university has done a very good job reaching out to the local communities. We are engaging with the city of Long Beach. In the College of Business, we are starting initiatives to help African-American business owners, you know, how to manage their business better. So these are just some of the examples of the really good things that I've noticed in the last 14 years that I have been here. I think, you know, if we can make it a place where faculty, staff, and administrators are happy to work and students are happy to learn, then we're doing the right thing.
Picking up with that, if we could, as you just mentioned, some of the programs, just wanted to spotlight one that my colleagues work on, the VITA program, led by Chair Dr. Sudha Krishnan. The VITA program providing income tax preparation assistance to low-income families in the community. So it's great stuff, and I think going forward in the years ahead, I think COB will be able to continue playing that role of great engagement with the community.
Right, and I think you've both brought up the issue of the great level of faculty, which I totally agree with. It's an unbelievably qualified and talented group of people. So that's the basis of any good university, I think. And then the issue of diversity is an interesting one. I think we've done well in some areas, not so well in others. Our faculty, for example, are not as diverse as our students. And we're working on that and attempting to make differences. As you say, Hugh, you said it, just wandering around campus, you want to see people like you. And, I'll say it, there are lots of people who look like me among the faculty, but not so many who look like others of our students. And so we can do better. We can always do better. And I think the fact that we have that very passionate goal is a good first step. The programs we offer, I think, are amazing. I mean, the VITA program, the help we give to African-American businesses, I think, again, that outreach to communities and establishing links between the people we serve and the university we are, all the constituents are there, and we just have to put them together. And so that's a big job. But again, it's great to hear that faculty like you are also aware of and interested in that. So, and Banafsheh, I know not to interrupt our thing, but I'm keeping a close watch on the time. If you have to go, please don't hesitate. We
I still
know
have a few more minutes, so
a few more minutes. Okay.
9:45.
Okay. Well, then let's just transition to something which I imagine, it's implicitly been what we're talking about, but the future. And we have an existing structure, thanks to the president of Beach 2030, which has 7 action plans, and I think good mission values. How would you, if you would, like to be a part of that making the future?
Sure, yeah. And I think like this is very interesting, because like when we had like this discussion of like Beach 2030, I was part of the strategic planning committee in COB, which we wrote like a new strategic plan. And one thing that we really focused on it when we were writing that plan in terms of, let's say, like faculty and like students, was having more graduate programs in future, so that we can help faculty to, maybe they can get like less teaching loads with like the income that we'll have with the from the graduate programs, and as well as like helping more students who are more interested to go into the path of continuing their educations. And I'm surprised that this really is coming through in like even such a short time, because right now we have like 8 graduate programs, and when I joined we only had like 3 graduate programs, and they are in high demand, and they are like getting many students. So I think this is really like a bright future for COB in terms of having like more grad programs, like both degree and both certificate programs, and kind of like being well known, at least like in the region, for like the type of specific like grad programs that we have. For example, IS program with like focus on cybersecurity. This is just one example. And I know that there are some other campuses they are well known because of their specific grad programs that we are offering. So I'm happy, and I'm teaching, like all the courses that I'm teaching this semester are grad courses, and I see that the students are really good. Their background is good, and they're very good at like what they're doing. So I'm pleased about it, and I hope that this will continue with like more programs and like better programs in future.
I hope so too, and I'm also very happy to see the growth of graduate programs in the College of Business, and not only the growth of graduate programs, but the wait list of students. I think for the upcoming academic year, I think we had several thousand people wanting to take graduate programs in the College of Business. And that's an amazing achievement in a relatively short time. And so I think, one thing that this COVID pandemic has proved for me is that in spite of the stereotype of academic institutions as very stodgy and slow moving, and it takes, 6 years to do anything, if we focus on it as a community, we can make change very quickly, and maybe be a model to the wider society. And whether it's graduate programs, or whether it's family care, child care. And I remain convinced that working in academia is one of the great one of the great privileges of our time. And so I've always felt lucky to be in academia, and I hope you do too. So
thank you. I'm gonna take off. It was great to talk to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course, absolutely. Thank you. Bye-bye. So Lou, let's do you think also that graduate programs are the future? We certainly seem, that's certainly appropriate for College of Business.
Yeah, so for our college, I definitely agree with that. And also same time, I feel like engaging students is also important. Our college is doing a great job in serving as a bridge between students and the industry. We will definitely continue to do even better job. So, and currently we have many great program in place. For example, every semester, our finance department, we have a finance symposium, which brings a financial professional and alumni back to our campus to interact with our current students. We want to let our students know what's going on and also give them some connection. For our last year finance symposium, it was a huge success. For this year finance symposium, actually, it's this afternoon, 1 o'clock. If anyone has interest, you're welcome to join us.
Oh, okay, well, great. Talk about serendipity, being in the right place at the right time. So audience, you heard it. You have an invitation directly from Dr. Zhu. You can be her guest. We should probably also start wrapping up. So let's move to a sort of just away from academia, personal but not too personal. Is there anything new that you've discovered about yourselves or your ambitions in this COVID year? Anything that's kind of changed, or that's suddenly a light happened and, oh, okay, I should do that? Or has it just been head down and work and family? It's Mona, you're laughing.
I'm laughing because it's a little bit more of the latter. I'm figuring out as you're talking.
Yeah, no,
I think like head down and work, but well, so there was a moment in when you were mentioning the is there something that you realized, like in terms of ambition, and then there's I'll mention a personal piece as well. There was a moment like at the beginning of the pandemic, and when we were trying to decide whether or not we need to work on the Working Mothers During COVID project, because we were also worried about our participants, because it is a very busy population. And I realized at that moment with conversations with my co-researcher is that, I've been researching this since I started my PhD program. And I felt like we were in a place that we have the expertise and we have the skills. And it was our responsibility to kind of use those skills to improve the workplaces, hopefully moving out of the pandemic. So I think the highlight on the professional side is that I felt the need and the necessity of that research. And I had thought in the past that this research had impacted workplaces positively. But with the shock of the pandemic, I felt that there's still a lot of more work to be done. And I felt that it's a great place to be, in a place where we know that research, we know that literature, and we have what it takes to have an impact, hopefully, on where this research goes in the future and how our workplaces look like in the future. And that's kind of the hope and the ambition part. On the personal side, I mean, there was a lot of like head down and just trying to navigate the day-to-day between work and online classes and all of that. But one thing that was also highlighted is the need to make time for yourself and to really carve the time and find it and fight for it and protect it. to be able to re-energize and build that energy. So that's one thing that I try to do, and one thing that was easy to adopt during the pandemic is going for walks and for runs. And so that's like one thing that that I was doing during this year, to just try to find the time to run outside, and which is a good activity and a good energy builder.
How great. And you know, I was so sure that somebody would say that when I asked the question, because what I want to say to everybody is that it's not just the pandemic. Self-care is absolutely crucial for a successful academic career. And, you know, an academic career is a long period. It's, you know, 30, 40 years, who knows? And many things happen in it, surprising things. And you have to make time for yourself to stay healthy and well, for your brain to function, for your mind, for your emotions. And if you don't, you can, I mean, of course, we can all do that for a short period of time, and sometimes we have to, but it's very important in general. So,
Yeah.
So Greg, how about you?
Well, tough act to follow here, but I would say, you know, as someone who's relatively new to California, I still pinch myself, I'll tell you, during the winter months.
Yeah, isn't it great? You look out and say, hey, it's not snowing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I grew up playing sports, enjoy being outside. And when you can do that year round, you say, what's not to love? So, you know, sometimes I think you even say no news is good news sometimes, and very grateful for my setup, and not necessarily facing all the challenges that others are. I want to point out, you mentioned earlier, as far as the ability of the campus to adapt quite well and quite quickly. And I think the on-campus vaccination program, for example, has been a shining example of that. So I know I can speak on behalf of other colleagues I've talked to about it. We're just very grateful for that setup, very thankful for it, for all the friendly professionalism of all involved. And yeah, once again, grateful for the situation I'm in.
Terrific. Well, we're grateful that you chose us, and as we are, that all of you chose us. But I mean, I think, you know, the vaccination example is such a great example, because it's not just us, our campus, it's also our community, Long Beach Public Health, our mayor, our connections with the city, and long planning. We've been planning with the city for possible vaccinations theoretically for decades, believe it or not. And it just happened that suddenly there was a need, and so we had the planning pre-done. Can't always do that, but you know, it does make a difference. And yes, there is. There's no doubt that the enticing nature of California in terms of climate and I think opportunity, you know, California is at the vanguard of America, and maybe progressive thinking, creative thinking, innovation is here. And agreed, partly because of the incredible diversity of the state. I think it's an illustration of the well-known academically researched fact that diversity in groups produces more productivity and more innovation, and maybe that's a reason. So, Lou.
For the last year, so while I was doing my teaching, so I record my class and cut the class into small video. So I learned this video editing skill. I really like it. So it's very fun and useful skill. So I even applied to make some cool family video. So I create a video to see how my baby girl actually grow fast and how my baby girl start to walk.
Oh, great!
That's wonderful.
That's incredible. We should maybe get some of those on our website or something. Would be great.
That's the skill that I still did not learn, Lou, but because I'm recording mini video lectures. It's about like 5 to 15 minutes, but my editing skills are still very limited. So I know who to go to now.
I can
Right.
share the skill with you.
Yeah.
Share the secret.
It's all about networking, right? So,
Mhm.
and okay, well, Hugh, you get the last word. So,
Well, for me, I think in the last year or so, I've been cooking more. I love to
okay.
be outside and I love traveling, but since we can't travel anymore, we're encouraged to stay home. In the last year, I've cooked more Japanese food because I love Japan, and cooking and eating Japanese food is a kind of a way for me to feel more connected to a country that I really miss. But of course, the downside of that is, I really have to watch my weight too. Can't be eating too much. And other than that, I think, like you said, the weather here is beautiful, and California is such a diverse place. And I feel quite lucky to be here. Also agree with Greg that the university's vaccination program is a great initiative. And I thought that this is all CSU campuses, but no. A friend of mine who's a professor at Fullerton, he was quite jealous of the fact that we get vaccinated already. And I said, so Fulton's not doing anything? And he said, nope, not doing anything. So that's another great thing that I think the university did for the people.
I'm not going to say anything negative about our sister campuses, but I will certainly say that we're the best. So